to GAVRA Racing once again. It is, of course, Soup, and we are, of course, alongside a couple of people in the chat today. We've got Nico, we've got Wolf, and we've got one of the admins of GAVRA Racing. We've got Raisey here today. We were doing our annual Q&A, which is, of course, answering all your questions regarding the brand new GAVRA Racing season, which starts up at the start of February. So we'll just wait until a few people get into the chat and just make sure some settings are correct and everything. So as I get up the chat on my phone, etc., etc. So, gentlemen, how are we all tonight?
Still alive.
Good. I'll just ask Nico a quick question. Is Stroopwafel returning?
We'll have to see.
That means yes.
I really don't know yet.
Well, good enough. So I actually forgot to check if people have their voices shared. Oops.
I think mine's shared.
Yeah.
I think I just hit myself in the chat.
Okay, apparently only me and Nico can be heard. Can people quickly check the settings?
Where do I go to do?
Alright, so you go to party settings. Yep, there you go.
Allow. Okay.
My GTA is doing weird.
Alright, so we should be... Okay, we'll just do a quick audio test. So anyway, we've got a couple of people in chat, so are we all good now?
Yeah.
Radio check, radio check.
Yes.
Can we check the radio volume?
Okay.
I think we're okay. Alright, so now we can actually get started. So as I said, we've got one of the admins of GAVRA Racing, Raisey, alongside us here today, and this poor man is going to be answering all our questions. So as he did last season, of course. But so we're going into, we've got some new championships starting up. So we have a multi-class series starting up for the first time, which is of course GTE and LMP3. So Raisey, the first question I've got of people so far is we know that there's some rules regarding overtaking versus GTE and LMP3. So the question was, will the overtaking rules in multi-class reflect that of the World Endurance Championship?
Before I answer that, just hello everybody. Nice to be here, and nice to talk to you again. And yes, I mean no. It's multi-class, but it's multi-class in name only. Pretty much, it's run as a single championship. So the LMP3 and GT will be directly competing with each other. So there's no reason to get out of the way if you're faster or not of somebody else.
All right, that's fair enough. Of course, I assume they're GTE and LMP3. They're relatively the same performance, so I can see.
Yeah, all things being equal, the LMP3 should be 3 to 4 seconds a lap faster. If I was to drive the LMP3 and then jump in GTE, I should be about 3 to 4 seconds a lap faster. So of course, with the different tracks and the slightly different abilities of the drivers, and drivers changing from one car to another during the championship. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later.
Yep.
We're gonna see a lot of sort of mixed up class racing there, so it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it's obviously kind of a new thing for GAVRA Racing to try. We never had really a multi-class series the first time we got to try it, but yeah, it should be interesting to see how that gets along. Now I know there's a few people who are kind of new to the GT3 season. Now I know we kind of did a lottery system for GT3 last season. Is that going to be used again?
Yes, it'll be the same for all classes, but slightly different. The GT3, of course, there's plenty of cars, so there's more than enough cars for one team to have sole use of that car, which is what will happen in GT3, just like last time. So, as an example, if one team is running the Ferrari, a two-car team is running the Ferrari, then none of the other 7 two-driver teams can run the Ferrari. So the cars are unique to each team. There was some concern last time, the performance of some cars over others, but as it worked out during the season, really it didn't matter. So the performance of the car is sort of evened out with the different drivers and tracks and everything. So it didn't become an issue that this car was dominating because it was the fastest. It just was a non-issue. So all cars seem to be very similar.
Well, it actually turned out to be one of the closest seasons of GT3 we ever had, so I guess it worked.
Yeah, that's right.
But I also just to
Super
follow
for Porsche.
Okay, thank you, Nico. That's if you get the Porsche. Remember, it's a lottery system. So, but I also want to follow on from
strictly,
that.
Sorry, Sue. Just let me clarify that it's not strictly a lottery. So you can choose the car you want to drive. So if nobody else chooses that car in the first round,
I get you. Yeah.
You've got it. But if somebody else chooses that car, or a couple of other teams choose that car, then everybody the 3 teams that have chosen the Ferrari, for example, go into a random draw, and one of those 3 teams will get the Ferrari. They're okay. The other 2 teams will go back into round 2 to make a second selection.
All right, awesome. Just a quick.
That
carry
will
on.
continue until everybody's got. Sorry, that will continue until everybody's got unique, or each team's got a unique car. Yeah.
All right. Will that also be used for GTE and LMP3?
Yes, but because of the smaller selection of cars, it'll be 2 teams per car. So, for example, in the touring cars, 2 teams could run the Mercedes, for the AMG A45. 2 teams could run the Mercedes. So there'll be 4. If that's the case, there will be 4 Mercedes on the grid.
Okay. Now, I just got one in from Hyle there, so he's just saying about the touring cars. I know there's one single DLC car, which is the Astra. Is that going to be an option?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was just an issue because I don't think everybody has the car, but the touring cars are relatively balanced anyway, so I don't think that's an issue really.
Yeah. It's similar to the tracks back in PCARs 1. If somebody had the track and they were hosting, everybody else could race on the track, or the car was the same situation. If someone had the car, if another person didn't have the car, it wasn't an issue during the actual event because everybody could see, what was required. Maybe it's not an option to drive, but if you have it, then it is an option to drive, and it won't affect the championship.
All right. Not again. Will there be kind of? I know last season we had kind of races being run on the same day. Is that going to continue? So, as in the 2 GT3 groups running on the same day?
No, it won't. Everything will be on a different day, and there won't be 2 of the same class. Like last time, we had a whole bunch of people wanting to do GT3, so instead of disappointing like 16 other drivers, we decided to start up another GT3 championship and run them both simultaneously. That won't be the case this time. If you're one of the people that missed out on GT3, for example, then you'll go to your second option in the registration.
So there's literally just going to be one group for GT3.
Yes. Yes. One group for each, yes.
All right. Well, that makes kind of organising commentary a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I think there's just a few simpler questions that have just come in. Let's just see now, just scrolling through. There's just I know there's quite a few new people in coming into the live stream. So the simple question is, where do you sign up?
Website.
Go to the web. Yeah. Well, if you're not part of GAVRA Racing as it is, you'll have to go to the website and sign up for the academy. This current championship is the championships that we run is for licensed or are for licensed drivers only. So you have to go. Everyone that's competing in the championships have gone through the academy. So if you're a brand new driver, new to GAVRA Racing, what's going on here? I want to get into it. You'll have to go to the website and sign up for the academy, go through the academy program, and come out the other side with your license, and you're free to compete. The academy is a little bit of a misnomer. We're not there to teach drivers how to drive. We're the focus of the academy system is to make sure
assessment.
That the people we are bringing into our championships are of a standard, not necessarily of speed, but of care and skill and respectful drive, all that kind of good stuff that we all like to see on the track. That the people that are coming in are of that standard. That's right.
Yeah, that's good. I just to say that the Academy program has been very successful so far. In fact, Hayo himself came out of Academy last season and won the GT3 Group A Championship. So that just shows you how well it's been going. But I just got one question in from Harry Budda. So he just wants to get clarification how the kind of the teammate system works. So are you assigned a teammate, or do you get to organise your own teammate?
No, you organise that yourself. You organise that yourself. There was a little bit of confusion between GAVRA and I. I was writing one way of doing it, and what finished up on the registration was something a little bit different. That's not necessarily anybody's fault. It's just there's some technical issues from the website side of it that made it a little bit difficult to do it the way we wanted. But basically, you register for the championship you want, and once your registration is being accepted, we go through the time trials, all that, then you can team up with somebody else. Quite a few drivers like myself and Dan, or Rubuto and Pong, or Farrelly and Cash, always driving together, right? So we have our teammates pretty much always set. But for sort of independent drivers that come in, go through the time trial and have a chat with other drivers and get yourself a teammate.
Yeah, because there isn't any independent teams with one drivers. You have to have a teammate.
Yeah, that's right. It's a team-based thing. It's required to be part of a team. Yes, we've found that that's the best. For a championship season, that's the best way to go. It's much better with two drivers. Much better for a lot of reasons.
All right, that answers his question really well, so he thanks you for that. But I just want to go back on the GT3 and LMP3. Will drivers, I know it's going to be kind of a little bit tough considering they're two different classes, but if people are part of a team, will they have to kind of match their liveries? Yes,
there's... of course, liveries don't really matter, of course. Everyone's just driving around on track, but the point for that is, you feel part of a team if you have the similar coloured car, but probably more important is that from a broadcasting point of view, you guys can see, well, these guys are the same team. Otherwise, it can be a bit, if everyone's got different liveries, then it's like you guys have to work out who's part of what team, and the casual audience doesn't know what's going on, right? So we want to try and get the teams as closely matched as possible. We want to leave that up to the drivers, use their common sense and their judgment there. But if from the GAVRA admin side of things, if we look at it and we say, well, actually there is a closer option here, then we might sort of direct you to do that. It's not because we want to tell you what to do, it's because coming through on screen and for everybody else's benefit, it's just so much better.
Yeah.
I have just a quick question, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because Raisey said about unique cars in GT3, but there are like 3 different Bentleys, 2 different Porsches.
Right.
Is there then only going to be one Porsche team, or?
Yes. This came up last time. Sorry, I sort of missed that during answering that question. That's right. There's, for the Bentley and the Porsche, for example, the Audi is another one. There are multiple versions of the same car. So only one Audi. Doesn't matter which one it is. So only one Bentley, only one Porsche.
All right.
The other slight issue we had at the beginning of GT3, sorry, Sue, was the AMG and the SLS Mercedes. There was some sort of disagreement about whether they are actually different cars. What we decided was, yes, they are. They look completely different. The cars are actually they are the same car. Like one replaced the other, I think. But they are actually completely different vehicles in terms of their design and layout and power and all that kind of stuff.
So you can have 2 different Mercedes.
Yes, the SLS and the AMG are considered
GT.
The AMG GT, are considered different cars. Yeah.
Okay. And just we'll move on a little bit now. So I know in a recent update, the Project Cars 2, they added this championship tracker type thing. Now, is that going to be used in the new season?
No, we trialed it. It has some good potential there. It's a great idea, and but in practice,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah. It didn't work, and it's a little bit inflexible. We could use it as a sort of an add-on to track the championship, but we'd have to modify the points, and it's just not worth the effort at the moment.
It's just
not flexible enough for it.
It just doesn't work for the league, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't suit it's not fit for our purpose, basically.
So the next question I have is now, if any of you want to read through any of this is all on the forums, gavraracing.altavista.org. It's all on the forums. Sign yourself up and get yourself involved on the forums, introduce yourself, etc., etc. But this is on the forums as well. I know that we have a new penalty system this season, so could you go through that for us?
How much time have we got?
You take as long as you need.
Yeah. It's quite comprehensive, and it was mostly from Hio. Hio sort of drafted it all up, and we worked together to nut out the details, and of course I wrote the thing up myself. But basically, there's two parts. We've always had two parts of the penalty system: a licensing penalty and a championship points penalty. That's always been GAVRA Racing. So you can get points deducted off your license and lose championship points. We've got a similar concept, but it operates very, very differently. With the licensing side of it, you start with 0 points on your license, and for every incident, you get a point added. And at the first level, it could be 1 point or 2 points, or in really extreme cases, which we might touch on later, for different off-track reasons, there might be more points. But if you have an incident and you're responsible for that, you'll get 1 point added to your license. So the next race, there's a 1 point sort of penalty you have to serve, which is a prescribed penalty. It's there on the table. This is the penalty you serve. It's a practice ban. So you're not able to take part in practice. So that you serve your penalty, you run your race. If your next race is clean, with no incidents, then you drop down one level. But if you have another incident, then a penalty point is added, and then you're up to level 2, and you serve the level 2 penalty, which is a practice ban and a limited time, a restricted time during qualifying. So you serve your penalty, and you stay at that level until you run a clean race with no serving penalty, then you go back down. So you serve your penalty once, but you stay at that level until you clear it, and then drop down one. But you don't serve, when you're dropping down, of course, you don't drop down to 1 and serve the penalty at level 1. You serve it once at that highest level you've got, and then you're trying to run clean races to get it to drop it back down further. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is like in British Touring Car Championships, when you get a certain amount of strikes, you have to start from the back of the grid. So I take it something, in my mind, I'm seeing it as something similar to that. So you have to serve a practice ban.
Yeah. I mean, a practice ban, for all intents and purposes, a practice ban is meaningless. Everyone does their practice before the event, so that's just at level 1. So it's not really a huge punishment, but it's something that the driver has to do. You have to sit there and you have to wait and you think about it, and it's an actual physical. This is the approach we've taken. It's a physical thing that you have to do, right? You have to sit there and wait for practice to finish. Before, it was just some numbers coming off a website somewhere. It didn't affect anything, right? So it was out of sight, out of mind. You didn't have to worry about it. But this time around, every level, you have to actually do something and feel it, however extreme or not that is. So we're hoping this will have more of an impact on drivers' behaviour. If they get something wrong or make a mistake, then they actually have to physically feel the results of that. Of course, it gets more extreme later when you might be a qualifying ban or a race suspension or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds completely fair. I mean, I think that's a great system. It kind of encourages drivers, I suppose, to kind of get their act together, and
Yeah.
yeah, that it's great.
Well,
So
it gives you some good chances right at the beginning. A practice ban, restricted qualifying, uh, exclusion from qualifying. They're the first three levels. All these things are not killers, you know. You can survive those. Once you get past those, you're into race suspensions and stuff. So you've got lots of sort of leeway there to get your act sorted. And based on our experience, people usually don't have an incident every single race. You know, they might have one, and they're okay for a couple of races. So you'll tend to be down the bottom end of that scale. But for sort of recidivist drivers or drivers that are a bit careless and stuff, they'll really have to get their act in order to try and stay out of the danger zone.
Yeah, it does act just like an in-race penalty, but it's much more practical.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the license side of things, and the championship point side of things runs sort of parallel to that. It's independent, but it can be applied together. And if you're responsible for an incident, you might get a sort of a finishing penalty of one place or two places or three places. So then you get the points for, if you finish first and you've had an incident you are judged responsible for, then you get points for second place or third place if it's a more serious incident. There was some talk about, if you're first and the guy that came second, can't he get promoted to first? But we've thought about this very carefully, and from a casual sort of just looking at it, you think, yeah, well, this makes sense. It makes sense to sort of drop someone down and promote someone up, but in reality, things on track things can become like really, really complicated. And when you start doing that, it's like everyone starts, oh, but I'm doing, it's very, very difficult to do it in practice fairly. So we've decided to leave everything outside the offender aside and just focus on the offender and let everything else stand.
Because there's also a lot of people who just watch the league who might not necessarily check the websites or the forums for updates of that. So they might come into their next round wondering why something's happened. So
Yeah. So and from an admin point of view, I mean, we're not full time on this. We're not paid stewards in a professional environment, right? Everyone's sort of extremely part time, and we just give our free time for this because we love it, and so we don't want a lot of admin overhead and a whole bunch of stuff to do. We just need everything, and for the drivers too. It just needs to be quick, simple, done and dusted very quickly, so everyone can move on to next week.
Exactly. Right. So we're going to move on to another one. Scott was asking about the reserve driver situation. So I'm going to kind of interpret this as, will the points they score go towards a driver's, like the kind of the main driver's points, or will it be separate?
Okay, I'll just overview the reserve driver situation in general. It'll answer all those questions.
Yeah.
So in the past, we've always sort of drivers will be able to ring in somebody to cover for them. So, but we want to formalise that a little bit more and put some restrictions around it. So we're not calling up the best driver in the league in the last race when I have to win it. This kind of thing. So. If someone's away for legitimate reasons, then they have a team that's associated with them. I'll give you a good example is Dan and I drive a sort of an team organisation called ART, Advanced Racing Team. There's me and Flayboy and Dan and Suki and Van and Phoenix and a couple of other people. We're all part of the same thing. We have our own chat group. We work together. We chat shop, about P cars and help each other, all that kind of stuff. So we have a built-in environment where we can bring in replacement drivers. Not everybody has that. So you can nominate at the beginning of the season within the first two races. We have you can nominate a driver or another team to replace for you. So if, for example, if I'm in Team A, I might nominate Team B, of course, I talk to Team B about it first. We agree to maybe cover for each other. You guys cover for us here. We'll cover for you over there. So if one of us is away or can't make the race, one of you guys can come in and drive for us, and vice versa. If one of you guys can't come, we'll go over and drive for you. But that has to be sort of stated up front in the first couple of races, and only those drivers or driver can drive for that team. So you can't just ring in anybody for an emergency and get the best driver to win the last race of the season for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a restriction of 5 races. I mean, if you're absent for more than 5 races, then there's some kind of problem with your participation outside of just having to go to dinner with mum and dad, or my kid is sick or whatever. So we've restricted it to 5 races that can be substituted for. Sorry?
Then I take it after the 5 races, the reserve driver would score for themselves, or?
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, I missed. I skipped over that part about the points. A reserve driver in the regular season, like GT3, GT4, or touring cars, a reserve driver doesn't score points for the driver they're replacing. They score points for the. They do score points for the team though.
Okay.
Right. So if I'm away, this is how it was in the past as well. If I'm away and Flayboy comes in and drives for me, he scores points. I'm a GT3, I'm away, he comes and drives for me, he scores points for my team, but he doesn't score my personal points. I just have to wear that, right? So, but the slight exception is in the LMP3 GTE, where it's actually a team-based championship. There is no individual standing. Well, no individual standing that really means anything. It's a team championship. The exception is there where the replacement driver comes in and they will score half points for the team.
Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah.
Yep. Right. So next one is I just check who I got this question off. This is off Harry Butter. So are you planning to repeat the reverse grids this season?
No. There will only be 1 race in each class. There is a sole exception in the GT3 LMPE multi-class. There are 2 special event rounds. One is a double sprint. If you guys remember, about this time last year, we had LMP3 championship, and at Sakito National we had a dual sprint with reverse grid. I think Wolf, you were driving in that one. In that event,
that was the one where.
Yes,
wasn't that the one where you ended up upside down?
No, I think it was the one where I was leading the first race and I disconnected and couldn't get back in again.
Yeah. I think Nico was driving in that as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So, okay, just go back to sleep, Nico. Sorry, mate. So anyway, in the multi-class, there's 2 special events. One is a twin sprint second race with reverse grid like we did last season. That will be at Road America in round 6, and in round 11, when everybody goes to Nürburgring. The other classes are on Nürburgring GP or National, depending on which class is running. But the multi-class will be on the full combined circuit for an enduro, two and a half hour enduro or something.
So just how long would that enduro race roughly last?
We haven't decided yet, but it'll probably be 2.5 hours.
All right. So didn't we have one similar to that at one point?
Yeah, LMP3 again.
Yeah, was it LMP3?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 2-hour enduro at Catalina GP. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was long. Just another one in from Scott as well. I think this is back to reserve drivers, but I think it's can there kind of be a kind of group chat for reserve drivers, or kind of yourself or other admins can pull out of, and just if it's an emergency, they can pull guys out of that group chat.
It's not a bad idea, but practically speaking, it's probably a little bit unwieldy to work. And also, you get favoritism issues, and Cash is driving for me. I just pulled him out of the pool. You know what I mean? So which is why we're what we wanted to sort of formalize it and say this is the fixed situation at the beginning. So going forward, everyone knows what the situation is. Sig doesn't suddenly appear driving for me, or Hio doesn't suddenly appear out of nowhere driving for me in a race that might be of significance. So that, we want to avoid that situation so people don't get sort of upset. So this is why we want to set everything up front and say this is the situation. And if the scenario falls outside that, that's just too bad.
All right. I think I haven't got any others from the chat, so I think just one more. Are there any more one-off events planned for this season where kind of people from outside GAVRA racing can come in and race?
The free drive, the GAVRA free drive, is something that we've let go over the past season. I think we were because the last season was the first PCAS 2 season, we were very focused on sort of getting all that ironed out, and it was a very compressed season, and there was quite a lot to think about and do, so we kind of let free drive slip a little. But free drive, for those that don't know, is like a GAVRA racing, a one-off event that people can anyone can sign up to and race. So licensed drivers, academy drivers, non-licensed drivers, external drivers can just sign up and run in a one-off event. We want to get that. Of course, the registration's on the website for that, but we want to get that started up again and run that somewhat regularly during the season. We're really looking for somebody to take responsibility for hosting that. If there's any of the GAVRA members out there that wants to sort of put their hand up and say, look, I'll run the free drive. I'm not racing this season, or I don't mind doing it. We just want to reduce the workload on people like GAVRA and myself. That's all. But so yes, there will be opportunities. I'm not sure exactly when they will be yet. We've sort of, as I said, we've been focusing on the season. Once we've got this sort of organised and underway, then we can look at running those one-off events.
Yeah. I've got a question as well. Is there any plans to perhaps run events or anything on other games? Or is it just going to be solely Project Cars 2 for the time being?
That's a good question. There's no reason why free drive couldn't be run in. Of course, the championship's running in PCARS 2. That's, we can't change that now. But there's no reason why free drive or other one-off events that we might happen to do couldn't be run in, GT Sport, for example, or whatever. Myself, I don't have any of those games. I'm only a PCARS 2-man, so that would have to be organised, by someone else that wanted to do it. But again, if anybody out there wants to sort of take responsibility for that and go to GAVRA and say, look, I've got this event in mind for GT Sport, can we do this? And GAVRA will look at it and might suggest a few things, and there's probably no reason why we couldn't.
Yeah, all right. I think Hio, I think, is left. I think Scott may want to join. I think his question is just very specific that he can't quite get it through on the YouTube chat. So I'll just invite him in and he can maybe ask you verbally. But I think just one of Hio. When is the season starting exactly?
The first week of February.
All right.
So in about 2 weeks. I can give you an exact date. It depends on the class, of course, but the starting week is. I'll just bring up my spreadsheet here. Is the first week of racing is the 5th to 9th of February. So in that first week of it's actually the first week of February is a half week, right? And it's the first full week of February.
All right, and can you confirm the days that races will be on?
Maybe. Hang on.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay. Yes.
Wow.
I just signed in, so I know it.
All right, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. There you go.
Yep. The multi-class will be on Friday.
All right.
I'm not. I know that because that's the one I'm going to be involved in, but the others I'm not. I can't remember.
GT3 is on Tuesday. GT4 is on Monday and touring cars on Thursday.
All right.
Right. There's four classes there, but it's likely that only 3 will run because of the numbers. We don't have enough numbers to cover the 4. We've given 4 so everyone can, if lots of people want to do touring cars, they can, or GT4, they can. But the reality is, I think we won't have enough numbers to run 4. We need full grids. We won't run partial grids if we can at all help it. So it's likely only 3 that will run.
I can see touring cars being very popular. You know.
And GTE and LMP3 multi-class. I think that's definitely going to be one. But it's only speculation now. But we're not too sure. I think it's actually swap around GT3 Thursday, touring cars Tuesday. I just confirmed that.
Right. If you have a look on the website and the registration, GAVRA updates the sort of the numbers there, or who's registered for what, and their second choices, so you can keep track of which ones are most popular. I think most people are registered for the multi-class at the moment. At least it's first choice. Yeah.
All right.
I am here if I'm allowed to join in for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah. The only reason he's here is he likes to talk and
check your voice is being shared.
Absolutely. I'm just turning it down on the PC because otherwise I'm repeating myself.
All right.
Bad. My quick question, Soup kind of got the gist, but what I wanted to kind of explain was not everybody knows other people. So with regards to the reserve driver entity, call it what you will, I was going to say at the beginning of a season, say as everyone is registering now to be in whatever class, obviously I know your setup allows for, you've got other reserves that you can call on. Not everybody knows people. So I thought it might be a good idea if we had people who could register to say, I'm happy to be a reserve in GT3, GT4, whatever class, and then admin could allocate them because they don't know the people and we don't know them. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That's a good idea, and as long as we have everything nailed down, within the first couple of rounds of the season, then that's all good. I'll have a chat to GAVRA about that. Maybe we can add something to the registration. Yes, I'm willing to be a reserve for another team, or something like that. Or I'm willing to be hooked up. I mean, not once people start talking, they may think, oh, I don't really want to drive for this guy, or whatever. But at least we can know who's willing to give it a go, or at least sort of go down that track. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a good idea. Yeah,
that was my point entirely, to be honest. It just might save a lot of aggro of everybody asking everybody else, oh, I'm driving for them, I'm doing this for them. You know the score.
Yeah. No, you sometimes, being an active part of the community and someone that knows sort of most people, sometimes you forget what it's like to come in and not know anybody. And, it's like, I'm kind of here. I've just come fresh out of the academy. I don't really know anybody. So, what am I going to do? Yeah,
it helps to promote camaraderie anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough from me. I'm going to go.
Bye.
See you, Scott.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. I think that's everything. I've got through everything. So we'll round out the stream there. So thank you all so much for joining me. I hope to see you all racing around on track in the new season.
Soup, can I? I've got a couple of notes here that I'd just like to touch on for everybody.
Yeah, no problem. Go right ahead. Yep.
Okay, so the season is 16 rounds, and I don't think GAVRA's published the calendar yet, but he will do soon. It's 16 rounds, and it runs from the beginning of February, as I said, to the last weekend of June. So obviously that's more than 16 weeks. So there are about 4 break weeks in there. So the season will be the first 4 rounds, then there'll be a break, then 2 rounds and a break, 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 and then the final 4 rounds.
Yeah,
I think I've got that right. So being such a long season, doing it all in 16 consecutive weeks is pretty tough for most people, I think. Mm-hmm. And allowing those break weeks will hopefully lessen or minimize the chances of drivers dropping out or whatever. They know they've got a week where I can get this stuff done or go you know, I've got to take the wife out for the birthday or something so I can get it done. So, or, you know, whatever it is. But so the structure of the season will be a little bit different. As I said, it's a long one, but we're going to have breaks, so that's a good thing. Also, something else I wanted to touch on was I just want to talk a little bit more about the multi-class and the structure of it. Something I didn't mention is I mentioned it's a purely teams-based event, but the team is composed of one LMP3 car and one GTE car. So the team has two different cars, and the drivers will drive. They have to drive a minimum of 6 rounds in each car. So, but how you split that up is up to you. So, the example I've given in the forum is I might drive 1 week, my partner might drive. I might drive GTE 1 week, and we just alternate GTE. I don't think we'll do this, but this is just an example. We'll alternate GTE as we go through the season. Or he'll drive the first half of the season in GTE, and I'll drive the second half of the season in GTE. Or he might be better on some, or whatever the combination is, but as long as everybody does at least 6 rounds in each car, then that's good.
So I
that's
take
the way to do it.
Sorry. So I take it that means the license between the two classes of cars are the same then? So the license you'd need to drive the GT3 is the same as the LMP3?
Yes. Yeah. Now that's a good point. Actually, you bring up something really really important. We've operated. GAVRA Racing has always operated on kind of well, not always, but we put in place a kind of a licensing system where you graduate through different licenses. You know, you start with we originally had like a bronze, silver, gold, platinum arrangement, right? Like you do your first season, you're in bronze license. Next season, you graduate to silver, and so on. Then we changed it to like 3 licenses: a freshman, a super, and a premier, freshman, premier, and super, I think it was. But in practice, we found it didn't really work. The theory was good, but in practice, it didn't really work. And last season, we did away with that. We said, right, no licenses. We're just going to run time trials and operate that way. So all the fastest drivers, like we had a GT3A and a GT3B, for example. All the fast guys are in GT3A, and all the not so fast guys were in GT3B. And so that, as it worked out, that seemed to work really, really well, and the fields were much more competitive, and the driving was you know, a lot more. You know, the fields were less spread out. You know, where you wouldn't get a couple of guys driving off in the distance, and a couple of guys at the back getting lapped about 4 times. That didn't really happen. So we've decided to go forward with that arrangement. No licensing. No sort of, you don't hold a license. You have your license points, right? But that's just a sort of a you know, that's a season by season thing. Yeah. But you don't hold there's one GAVRA license. You come out of the academy, you're licensed to drive in our races, and the time trials will take care of where you should be.
So I guess for people, I guess a good way of saying that is it's like in F1 you just have the super license and that's your license, not like in other series where you have gold, silver and bronze. You just have one single license that basically sticks with you. Yeah, okay, I think I get that.
Yeah, and just as I was rounding out doing the outro, I did get 2 more questions in, so it looks like we're continuing for a little bit. So I think Suki just put in a question about which is a fair question about the multi-class. So I think it's just about the point structure. So obviously, is there going to be kind of a separate championship for GTE and LMP3, and is there also going to be an overall?
There will only be overall.
Okay.
So you could track, because the drivers have to drive different cars. Like I have to drive both GTE, at least 6 in GTE and at least 6 in LMP3. It makes the individual points meaningless, right? So it's only the team that's important. I guess we could keep a GTE, an overall GTE team score and an overall LMP3 team score. You know, as an aggregate of both drivers in the one car. That's possible. But the overall thing, the overall team performance in both cars across the whole season is the focus of the event. Like in GT3, for example, one guy will stand on top of the podium. He's the champion. In the multi-class, there's two guys standing on top of, or in Suki's case, a guy and a girl standing on top of the podium, and they equally, are equal champions for their team.
Okay. I think just the one more from Hayo. I think it's just a small observation about the multi-class is running on the Nordschleife, but the others are running on the GP circuit. So I think he's just wondering why is that.
Because the multi-class is doing the endurance race.
Okay.
The other classes, the GT3, the GT4, and the touring cars, or two of those, I'm pretty sure the multi-class will run, and only two of the others will run. They only do their laps each round. So at each circuit they have their 40 laps or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And it's only the multi-class that has the twin sprint and the endurance at the combined circuit.
Okay. I think that's everything. And then I think How's just coming in. Why are the kind of GT3? Why are they not doing endurance?
That's a good question. I don't know. You'd have to direct that one to GAVRA. There's no reason why they couldn't. I mean, for example, I think it would probably be a reasonable idea for everybody to do the twin sprint, everybody to do the enduro. There's probably no reason for that not to happen. But for this season, GAVRA's chosen the path where it's only those special events will only be in the multi-class, not in the regular classes or the regular championships. I think because with this multi-class thing is a little bit different than anything we've ever done before, and the structure is very different from what people might expect. We've tried to put a more of a team's focus on it and make it kind of unique and mix things up a little bit just to give it a bit more of a flavour. The others are more or less bog standard championships, so they will run in the sort of the typical way. And the special events were applied to the special championship. I think that's the way he looks at it.
All right. So basically, if you have any more questions, take them up with our Lord and Savior GAVRA. But we'll. I think that's every question I've got and every question the chat has. So we'll round out the stream. We've gone for about 50 minutes, so it was a little bit longer than last year's, but it's comprehensive. We like to give the most information as we can to all the drivers. Wish you all the best of luck in the new season, which begins, as he said, in the kind of the second week of February, and we should have about 3 championships running. But we hope you'll join us then. We'll have live commentary and broadcasting being provided for all those races, and we'll see you all then for GTE, LMP3, GT4, and whatever else we have after that, touring cars. Whatever combination of those we have will be on track around that week. So we hope you enjoyed. Thank you all so much for joining me, and we will see you all in the new season. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.